Morning world. It's the 5th of June, I think. It's about 8:30 in the morning, and this is my take on Venus and Pluto in conjunction and in opposition to each other. Now, I had to sort of do a bit of preparation on this because this is something not to be trifled with. I had to sort of kind of wear psychic kind of sting-proof armour on this one because Venus-Pluto combinations are sensitive, sharp, acerbic when under pressure, and very loving when not. Venus-Pluto, it gives, it's a deep and dark way of looking at relationships. It forces the individuals to deal with experiences of direct power, especially in situations involving value and the influence of other in one's life. Particularly with a conjunction, Venus-Pluto can be incisive and accurate to the point of specific intuition and insight with excellent value systems, or it can be a blunt and misdirected force that blunders around, creating chaos everywhere. The core meaning of this is of transforming the desperation to be loved. Everyone with Venus conjunct Pluto will have a judgment system. But at the end of the day, it's only them themselves who can judge what it is that is really of value and worth. It certainly brings a deep understanding of tastes and appreciation as you get older. And it's particularly good at forensic financial ability. Venus conjunct Pluto people can really get into and understand what it is that makes financial situations work, and they're very good at uncovering all types of malfeasance at the financial level. There is certainly an intensity and a desire of resolve that fires them and promotes them into digging deep, and there's also a kind of intensity about them that keeps both the wimps and the vampires at bay. Venus-Pluto is nothing if not sharp in terms of its ability to spot the BS, and anybody who lies to them once will only get the one chance, because they can deal with problems, and they encourage people. Venus conjunct Pluto encourage people to be honest with them, to look them in the eye and tell them the truth, no matter how painful. But the alternative is that if one lie is spoken, then that's it. Those people are finished forever until hell freezes over. There's obviously the erotic side of Venus and Pluto, but perhaps eroticism is a combination that's more in tune with Mars and Pluto rather than Venus. So Venus-Pluto conjunct is more exotically sensual than erotically sexual. But then one is probably the more physical form of the other. Certainly Venus-Pluto, as they age, will value their partners more for their subtlety and their refined passion as much as for their raw sex appeal. But there's always going to be the mystery and the potential seductive side of Venus conjunct Pluto that epitomizes the elegance and the taste of Venus with the mystique and the darkness of Pluto. So they certainly, as they age, these people become more and more concerned around the value of experience and the quality of experience as much as the experience itself. There's always a desire to get to the bottom of things, to peel away layers of the onion and to get to the core of a matter, which is why, again, they go for quality experiences. Venus-Pluto make the most devoted and passionate partners, and it really is what I call a kind of warts and all position. These are the people who, if they commit to you, they will commit for life as long as you tell them the truth. And it gets to be really comfortable and easy, even if it does at the end of the day become a bit like a pair of old slippers in front of the fire. But at the same time, with Venus conjunct Pluto, it gives an unswerving loyalty, a deep receptiveness and sensitivity to the subtle nuances of the relationships, and it also brings a capacity of depth, intrigue, sensuality, sexuality, mystery, and in-depth value and reward into any of the relationships. Now, the opposition of Venus to Pluto is a bit more around the nature of control. One client would have said to me, well, I've kissed a lot of frogs to find out what it is that I don't want. Venus opposite Pluto, they do tend to go through people when young quite fast to find out what it is they don't want, so that when they do settle in relationships, it's with what they do want. They don't do lightweight at all. They go for the deep thinkers of the zodiac, people with substance and depth and solidity, and preferably people who have a degree of financial security around them, because Venus opposite Pluto can't bear to be in a position of insecurity financially. It really pushes their fear buttons. There is a deep-rooted fear of abandonment here, so they do need to be with someone who is strong enough to put their arms around the Venus opposite Pluto person and go, look, it's all right, no matter what, I'm here for you. They take a long time to trust, sometimes up to 7 years. When they do trust, that's it, it's committed. Venus opposite Pluto can be the vamp or the tramp in the bedroom. It can also be the most sophisticated and erudite of lovers, very exotic, erotic perhaps, but it's more receptive rather than projective. Mars Pluto is projective, Venus Pluto is receptive. It's not that good at compromise until it's been with someone long enough to trust them. And you know that if you're with a Venus opposite Pluto person, you know it's going to work if they're concerned around meeting you halfway or you meeting them halfway. And there is the ability to help both themselves and their partners go through sort of pain barriers, embarrassment barriers, and deal with stuff at a deep psychological level rather than just blank it out or ignore it. It's a kind of Scorpionic, there's always going to be the element of Scorpio around Venus opposite Pluto, regardless of what signs it's in. And part of the equation with Venus opposite Pluto, I find, is they play the kind of I dare you to work me out game. They always like to have an element of mystery, and there's always going to be that 1% of them that even their partners of 30 years won't know or recognise. They like to constantly surprise people, even if it's just a little bit, and I'm fine with that. And these are the archetypal people who want to sort of... They're not... Yes, on the one hand, with Venus, they'll want to go off for a romantic weekend in a penthouse suite on the top of a magnificent skyscraper with great views and the top dollar and the most beautiful place in the world for having a long romantic weekend. That's the Venus side. And the Pluto side says, come on, let's go and find a cave in the woods and just get it on. And they do find out where the dirt can be hiding. They're quite fastidious around hygiene. Doesn't matter what you look like as long as you don't smell bad with Venus opposite Pluto. Woe betide anyone who digs into these people's pasts or their lives without permission. What comes across as secrecy is actually privacy born of past experiences of deceit or mistrust. Venus opposite Pluto can be cold ice. An invulnerable and impenetrable wall saying, don't mess with me, I'll never trust you, go away. It can also be the most passionate and loving when it wants to be and when it feels wanted and valued in return. And that's the key with Venus opposite Pluto. If you have a partner who has Venus opposite Pluto and you reassure them of their value to you and how much they mean to you, and you just not so much reassure them with words, but reassure them with giving them a good meal and putting your arms around them and giving them genuinely warm hugs. you'll never lose them. There you go, folks. That's my take on Venus Pluto. Next, Mercury Pluto.